Today, the least democratically elected Prime Minister in history entered number 10. Andy Burnham says he wants to do things differently. Oh, and of course, he hates Thatcher. So he removed the lectern today. He wanted to give his speech just from the microphones. No lectern, don't do any of that southern lectern rubbish. But hilariously, it turns out that Margaret Thatcher also spoke without a lectern, so they have got something in common. But Andy Burnham will not face any scrutiny in Parliament for around 43 days because they're all off on holiday, which is almost as long as Liz Truss's entire term as Prime Minister. But he did say this.
Later this year, I will bring forward a new plan for Britain, a 10-year plan, laying out a path from where we are now to where I believe we all want Britain to be.
Great. So we're going to have to wait potentially 6 months for a 10-year plan. Does the idea of a 10-year plan remind you of anyone?
Usher in a decade of national renewal. A decade of national renewal. With a decade of national renewal.
Yes. But he has promised a new economy.
We'll make this moment a circuit breaker for Britain, bringing forward the biggest changes in the last 40 years. A new political model and a new economic model.
So what are the rumours so far? Tax, tax, tax. Potentially a 50% tax on those with the highest incomes, rent controls, which would hammer landlords. You can add that to higher council tax as well because of his other big plan, which is this.
And we will take power out of here and carry it into every postcode in the land so that they can do more.
Yes, which basically in a nutshell means more devolution, which would, in theory anyway, give local councils just free rein to ramp up that council tax. And that is his big thing. So, crucially, do the public give a flying about devolution? No, they don't. It's actually the thing they care least about. So here you go. The thing they care most about is immigration. What is his plan on that? Shabana Mahmood has remained at the Home Office, so potentially she's going to carry on. All right, I think she's probably the best person they've got. We have absolutely no idea what he feels, though, apart from letting illegal immigrants work. He said he wanted to do that during the by-election campaign. Then came his other big announcement.
Now, I will soon go through that door behind me and issue my first instruction to end rough sleeping in our country.
Oh, OK, all right, end rough sleeping. Does that remind you of anyone?
We're thinking what we're going to do to start with. What's the message? The message is going to be, today, rough sleeping homelessness ends. There will be no more homeless people in this country. The state will provide.
Oh, there you go. Oh, that's funny, isn't it? Well, when Burnham was elected as Mayor of Greater Manchester in 2017, he promised to end homelessness and rough sleeping. What happened? Well, rough sleeping in Manchester is currently at its highest level since 2018. So he's completely failed on that, completely. And Piccadilly Gardens, frankly, now looks like an open-air lunatic asylum. Yes, OK. His other big promise, of course, was this.
We will help more young people into work by changing the education system and giving them more support, more mental health support. And we will build more council homes.
OK, right, but who's going to live in those council homes? We all know, don't we? It'll probably be loads of new arrivals, loads of recent immigrants and loads of illegal immigrants. In Crowborough, I was told by an Afghan illegal immigrant that he'd been told that he was guaranteed a place in an HMO within 3 months. People were praising Burnham for being a better speaker than Starmer, who seems utterly incapable of any kind of human emotion. Yeah, fair enough. But people are already pointing out the striking resemblance between Andy Burnham and David Brent.
In Makerfield, Orrell, Winstanley, Hindley, Blackbridge,
Reading, Aldershot, Bracknell. You know, I've got a Didcot, Yateley. I can play guitar. I can play guitar at a reasonably good level.
Oh, David, you know, you're a brilliant singer-songwriter.
I got some hot love on the hot love highway.
Yeah, by the way, that clip goes on, and it is well worth a watch. He's culled Starmer's allies from cabinet. So, Lammy out. No more mastermind.
Who acceded to the English throne at the age of 9 on the death of his father Henry VIII in 1547?
Henry VII.
Edward VI.
Good grief. No more Reeves.
And may I take this opportunity to thank our outstanding British Transport Police for everything that they do to support staff and passengers.
No more Steve Reed.
No. How many new homes have been built since Labour took power?
I don't have the exact. I'm not Wikipedia.
No, you were the minister in charge of it, though. No more Lord Hermer.
Attorney General, if the pen lands in the pot, we leave the ECHR.
Really? All right. Oops.
Oops, you've not got a job anymore, mate. So, who's in Burnham's cabinet? Well, John Healey is Chancellor. He, of course, resigned as Defence Secretary recently. Ed Miliband as Foreign Secretary. Gets him out of the country, doesn't it? Loves a long-haul business-class flight. Then we've got Shabana Mahmood, remains as Home Secretary. Potentially a bit of a glimmer of hope, that, actually, for a lot of people who actually want something done about immigration, both legal and illegal. Convicted fraudster Louise Haigh becomes a Cabinet Minister. Yes, you heard that right. Yvette Cooper is Secretary of State for Health and Social Care. Pat McFadden stays as Work and Pension Secretary. And the breaking news in the last few minutes, Angela Rayner is now returning as Secretary of State for Housing, Communities and Local Government. Now, bearing in mind, of course, she initially lost that job over an issue with her stamp duty on one of her homes. So the jokes write themselves. Jonathan Reynolds, he was Business Secretary. He lost his job as Business Secretary. He had to apologise after repeatedly claiming that he was a qualified solicitor when he wasn't. He's now back as Business Secretary. Lucy Powell, the woman who described the rape gangs as being dog whistle, she's now Secretary of State for Education. Annalise Midgley is the Chief Whip. Bridget Phillipson, described as a spiteful class warrior by Kemi Badenoch, has been demoted from Education to Women and Equalities Minister as well. So there you go. But you'll be noticing there that there's a couple of big omissions. We don't have a Defence Secretary, we don't have a Justice Minister, and Wes Streeting is, I believe, currently desperately fighting for his political life in Downing Street. You've worked hard for your money, so why does it feel like your pounds are constantly losing value? Your savings should grow and be safe. It's common sense, isn't it? But here's the truth. Policy impacts inflation, which silently erodes your purchasing power. Don't let inflation decide what your money is worth. And when your money is with your bank, the bank uses it for their purposes. They lend it, they profit from it. Your money works hard for your bank, when it should be working hard for you. This is why people are seeking alternatives to traditional bank savings accounts. With a Tally Money account, your pounds are automatically converted into real physical gold held securely in your name. Not a promise, not just a number on a computer screen, real gold in a vault. And the clever bit? You still have instant access for transfers and payments. Through the Tally Money app and Tally Debit MasterCard, you can transfer funds or spend it in any currency. Gold has been trusted for thousands of years. Now, with Tally, it works more like everyday money. So if you're tired of your savings not keeping up with the cost of living and you'd rather own something real, take a look at Tally Money. To find out more and to get an exclusive GB News offer, simply scan the QR code or click the link in the description. Right, Carol, for me, I'm sorry, I can't get around the, from what was previously a sleaze and scandal hit government under Keir Starmer, to open the door now for people like Louise Haigh, Angela Rayner, Jonathan Reynolds, etc., to just wander back in here. And even some of the things that Lucy Powell has said, I know that she's the deputy leader, but some of the things she's said, you know, the brass neck on that lady there to stand up in Parliament and say we need to dial down the rhetoric following the alleged murder of Anne Widdecombe, after she had very recently posted that Nigel Farage's reform Reform Party was a cancer on society. Ridiculous stuff here. What do you make of these points?
It confirms that there is zero talent in the Labour Party, and all they're doing is just, rejigging the chairs on the Titanic. However, what shocked me today, Patrick, was that he said, I'm going to go through that door and I'm going to tackle rough sleeping. Well, does he know that Labour actually just legalised rough sleeping earlier in this year by abolishing the Vagrancy Act? So they've actually legalised it, so now he's going to abolish that. But, this strikes me as a man who was not concentrating on the big picture. He wants to be a domestic prime minister. That's not possible. Not when you have out-of-control immigration, not when you have a £3 trillion debt, not when you have 11 million people who are choosing not to work, not when you have zero growth. He's talking about social care. He's talking about rough sleeping. He's talking about homelessness. These are very important issues, but they're nowhere near as important as the big issues in this country.
And it is actually a cabinet that has shifted to the left. And Pat McFadden has stayed at the Department of Work and Pensions. He's the bloke who, it was revealed in the Mandelson messages, said that he was walking into meetings or walking into bar rooms, and the only thing he was being told and listening to was that who can we tax more to give more people stuff. I mean, we are going to be taxed even more under Andy Burnham. I'm watching that, by the way. I can understand why he never wears a suit, because he can't seem to find one that fits him properly. It's ridiculous.
He's unbuttoned it.
Yeah.
Well, look, he said he wanted to be a circuit breaker, but what he's actually doing is appointing a cabinet of lawbreakers. And we were talking about earlier that Louise Hayes would be First Secretary of State. Well, the more popular name for that is Deputy Prime Minister. So he's actually put a convicted fraudster in as Deputy Prime Minister. If anything happens to that, it's a convicted criminal who's going to be representing Britain on the world stage. That is a hell of a circuit break from tradition for me.
The good thing is she hasn't got pink hair anymore.
Oh, is she not? Right.
No.
Oh, well, that makes all the difference then, doesn't it?
It does, yeah. I mean, I think it obviously has, because it's given her this job.
I mean, you guys cannot make up your mind on how you're trying to undermine Andy Burnham. You just spent 2 years saying never hear Keir, and now you go, oh, well, this Labour Prime Minister is too obsessed with domestic issues. No. He understands that people have problems they want fixing. Social care is a key one. He has a lot of experience in it. Him fixing that would be very worthwhile.
The world has never been more turbulent than it is now, and he hasn't made one mention of foreign affairs, and everything that he's talked about, he's not talked about it at all. And Rishi Sunak once said 40% of his time was eaten up with foreign affairs, and that was when the world was not quite as turbulent as it is
just
now.
Specifically on the Louise Hay thing here, what do you make of this? Because she revealed earlier that she spent about a year plotting this with Andy Burnham after she was ousted. It is an absolute open door, especially, and we are not going to mention anything that might be going on in a few months' time, because I don't want to have to read a long list out, please. But especially like some of the criticism that people have been levelling at Nigel Farage recently, that kind of loses a fair bit of its punch when you can look at it now, Louise Hay striding into Downing Street as if the old phone fraud thing didn't happen.
I think that's a completely ridiculous comment, along with pretty much everything else you've said. The idea that a misplaced phone 20 years ago,
but it wasn't misplaced, Benjamin. That was the point.
Yes, that was
the idea. The idea that you have suddenly become a subscriber to cancel culture, and to think that
She's
should mean
convicted. It's a criminal conviction.
To think that should mean. I think it was what's the thing before conviction?
Anyway,
it was a conviction to which she pleaded guilty.
The idea that you think that should mean that you can't contribute to public service. Meanwhile, you've got Nigel Farage, who was funded by a convicted fraudster and denied it until it came out in the Sunday Times. But that's an interesting point.
No, but that's an interesting point because actually Ben Wallace made a good point on this on social media. He said that if the media, which they are going to continue to describe that particular individual as convicted fraudster before his name, then everyone should really have to do the same thing about Louise Hay. Look, so that's a convicted fraudster. Louise Hay.
Let me finish. If Andy Burnham were being funded by stolen phones through Louise Hay, then I would feel differently. Let's not get a sense of disproportion. And secondly, can I just say that talking about Pat McFadden saying that all he ever hears is that they want to tax more, that was not him saying he wanted to tax more, that was him saying that's the problem. This is an endorsement of Andy Burnham, that he's got the guy that complained about high taxes and kept him in work and pensions.
Look, well, I think we're going to say that Andy Burnham has made one inspired appointment today, and that is putting John Healey in as Chancellor. I'm going to give him full props, fantastic appointment. The trouble is, all the rest of his appointments are absolutely rubbish. I was sorry to see
Shabana Mahmood.
Look, that's continuity. She was already in the job put in there by Shabana. All of his appointments that he has made, or the changes that he has made, apart from Healey, are absolute rubbish. And whatever you say about Nigel Farage, whether he is or is not funded by a convicted fraud, fraudster. At least he isn't a convicted fraudster himself.
Exactly.
Which is what the Deputy Prime Minister of our country now is.
Okay.
And also, Burnham says he's going to bring about the biggest changes in 40 years. He has no mandate to do that. If he wants to do that, go to an election.
OK, well, look, just on that, OK, coming up, it is actually time, I think, to get stuck into the first official policy that we have from Andy Burnham, and it's a promise to completely eradicate rough sleeping, also a promise he completely failed on as Mayor of Greater Manchester. There is a looming crisis coming here for Andy Burnham. I'm going to reveal exactly what that is next.
Here is a sentence that would have sounded utterly mad 12 months ago. Britain has a new Prime Minister and not a single member of the public ticked a box with his name on it in a general election. Confused? Excellent, because so is half of Westminster. If you enjoy watching British politics produce plot twists no soap opera writer would dare invent, hit that subscribe button. It is free, takes a second, and means the world to us. Right, let us unpack this properly. Andy Burnham, formerly the Mayor of Greater Manchester, is now the 7th Prime Minister Britain has had in a single decade, a statistic that says rather less about Burnham and rather more about the revolving door currently installed at number 10. He arrived at Downing Street without a lectern, a small but deliberate choice, the sort of gesture designed to whisper authentic northern outsider rather than career politician, even though he has been in and around Westminster for decades. Symbolism first, substance to follow, allegedly. And follow it did, at speed. Within his first day, Burnham confirmed plans to scrap VAT on domestic electricity bills, a direct swing at the cost of living crisis that has been squeezing households like a python with a grudge. He also renewed a pledge to end rough sleeping, a promise that carries a rather awkward shadow, given that rough sleeping in Greater Manchester climbed to its highest level since 2018 during his own time as mayor. Bold promises are easy. Delivering them from the top job, with the whole country watching, is an entirely different sport. Now, the reshuffle, because this is where things get properly interesting. Out went Chancellor Rachel Reeves, Justice Secretary David Lammy and Business Secretary Peter Kyle, 3 significant departures signalling this is not a gentle handover but a genuine changing of the guard. In came John Healey as the new Chancellor, described by insiders as a trusted, steady pair of hands. Ed Miliband was promoted sideways into Foreign Secretary, swapping net zero targets for global diplomacy. Shabana Mahmood stayed put as Home Secretary, continuing her stricter migration agenda, and Angela Rayner took charge of housing, a department Burnham has flagged as an absolute core priority. Here is the tension underneath all of it. Burnham inherited this job through a leadership contest, not a national vote, which means the legitimacy question will not simply evaporate. Critics are already asking whether a Prime Minister with no fresh electoral mandate should be steering some of the biggest economic and social changes in years. Supporters counter that Labour desperately needed a reset before facing the electorate again, particularly with Reform UK breathing down their necks in the polls. Either way, the honeymoon period, if it exists at all, will be brutally short. The next few months will determine whether Burnham is remembered as the man who finally fixed a fractured Labour government or simply the latest name on an increasingly crowded list of short-lived Prime Ministers. Thank you very much for watching.